Hello, everybody, and welcome to One Day Today. We are on episode 55. I am excited about our guest today. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. This has been I think we can all agree this has been pretty much a pretty transformative year. I mean, through all the things that have opened up, obviously there's a pandemic still very much alive in the world. There's still a lot of civil unrest happening. But despite that, this space here is to focus and to experience the beauty that's still happening in the world. That despite the pandemic, despite the civil unrest, there's still beautiful people, beautiful souls who are up to amazing work, who are creating using this opportunity in the world to create a new era and a new conversation. And that's what we do at One Day. We hold the space for these conversations, for this new era, for us to intentionally make peace louder than the fear and the hate in the world. If you're tired of the division, the conversations of division and separateness in social media, you've come to the right place. That's just because people are sharing their frustrations doesn't mean that's all that's happening. That's not all that's happening in the world, and that's why we're holding this virtual stage. Is despite all that's happening in the world, there are some amazing things opening up, and when you actually focus on it, when you actually seek it, there's an abundance of just extraordinary people who are just sharing their gift of just a new world and a new era that we are creating together. And that's what this stage is for. Let's say hello to our co-host Matthew. Matthew, good afternoon, brother.
Afternoon, good sir. Yeah, it's funny. You use the word in spite of, um, but I'd say almost say because of, like
Mm,
because of the pandemic, because of everything that's happening. Like these
mm.
conversations seem to be happening more and more, at least in my life. Um, it's like this seems to have opened the floodgates in a way,
Right. Yeah.
like the floodgates of change.
I'm glad you said that because just paying attention to my own language is like it's not in spite of, it's something is opening up in the world. We could focus on the fear, but fear is actually an access to something beyond fear. And we don't it doesn't feel that way. I mean, most of my life, I've, like everyone else in the world, I've let fear, disable me and paralyze me to making action or just standing in what's important to me. But I think it is because of fear that it is actually because of suffering, it is an opportunity for growth. It is an opportunity to create something new in that space when we can recognize as you said, where the lie is in the fear. Because at the root of every fear is a lie, is something that we're not, even if we're not aware of it, there's something that we're not transparent of that we can really experience yet. Because that's the fear masks itself as, oh, I don't want to follow anything that's fear based because that would make me vulnerable, that would make me fail, or that would make me suffer. And in my experience, I'd love to hear yours. It's the opposite. When I actually face the fear, when I actually see it for what it is, it opens up a whole new opportunity, a whole new realm of possibility that wasn't there before.
Yeah, I definitely have shared that experience. And it's not just like fear, anything can be positive or negative if you want to look at things as positive or negative. Those are very relative terms. But like, yeah, fear can be debilitating for, in some cases, depending on how I am with the fear, how present I am to it. And in other cases, it can be an opportunity. And it all depends on the intention I hold when going or when facing it. I had that intention. This is something we've talked about quite a bit. Like I have the intention that everything be an opportunity to learn.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And as long as I hold that intention, then nothing seems as debilitating anymore
Right.
because it's always just another way to like it's just constantly reframing things to okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
how can this be an opportunity? How can this be an opportunity? How can this be an opportunity?
Right.
Um, so yeah, like it's very much a personal thing. Um,
Right. That's a powerful place to stand. Like to see, even if we don't even see where the opportunity is yet, to ask ourselves, where is the opportunity? To even just inquire in that. It's like, wow, this seems scary, it seems uncomfortable, but where's the lesson to be learned? Where is the new possibility? And it's like that's a powerful place to be, because what seems or appears as a speed bump may actually be a ramp to launch you.
Yeah, the only time it seems like a speed bump is when you actually have an attachment to a particular destination.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's very much the root of fear, is the illusion of control. You know, we feel we have control. You know, that's an illusion, because it's like when we try to, dominate a situation, it's like I'm attached to this specific result, and I'm gonna whatever I have to do, I'm gonna make it happen. And anything that's not towards that end, we won't see it. We won't see opportunity. We'll be blinded to opportunity because we are caught up in the scarcity of a specific result, in a scarcity fear mindset.
Exactly. Which, I mean, looking around me, like, we're both in the South right now. I'm probably in a little bit deeper South than you are, being in Nashville, the liberal haven of Tennessee. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are literally blinded by their own preconceptions. Like, they cannot see any other outcome than what they've been. Maybe like programmed is a decent word. There's not really a good word for that I found, but like what they have been indoctrinated into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes I find that scary sometimes. Like, I'm surrounded by people who seem to be determined to drive everyone else on a path of destruction. And it's not something they're doing consciously. Like, they don't seem to know they're doing it. At least, like, they don't seem to be aware of it when I actually talk to them about it. Like, they have no earthly idea. And here's me stepping back and looking at a completely different, very broad perspective of, how is everything an opportunity? And what I see from that is basically what Jesus said, all things work towards good for those who love. And like that, in some ways, like, that's how I'm defining love in this particular instance, is I'm constantly looking for an opportunity. I'm constantly reframing. I'm constantly like, that's just one way I can define love.
Right.
And so it's almost like humanity is like driving themselves to destruction, and at the same time we're learning this massive group lesson as a species. And I'm really curious to see like how it's going to turn out, like where we're going to go with this, and if we survive as a species, because who knows, we may not. And that, okay, we try.
I think that's a really good point. And it's like, I would include myself as somebody who most of my life was the same way, who I was guided by fear without even realizing it. And it's just like, and it's like back to what, another thing that Jesus said, was, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. And that includes me. That includes you. That includes ourselves. We all can get caught up and blinded by our emotion or our rage or our resentment or our thoughts, our fantasies of the greatest fears that we will believe in that instant is real, when it's just a thought in our head. And it's that's what the opportunity is now, is to invite people to experience themselves as not as the illusion that we believe that the ego wants us to identify ourselves as, but to recognize ourselves as we are, underneath our masks, underneath our fear. I'm going to go ahead and invite our guest. I'm really excited to have him and him share about his new book. And let's just introduce Hari KRV. Thank you for joining us, Hari.
The pleasure is entirely mine.
Oh, we're so excited to have you.
And the honor to.
He's actually in India right now, staying up into the wee hours of the night to be on the stage with us. So we appreciate you staying up with us, Hari. and I'm going to go ahead and give you the stage. So, Hadi, the stage is yours.
So, thank you everybody for this excellent opportunity. So, as Matthew said, I will start talking about myself because being vulnerable is really tough. It's difficult. So let me start at the beginning. When my childhood and even my youth was very, very calm, very smooth sailing. I never had any problems. Even today, when I look back, I find that I mean, it was so nice. There was nothing, I, that would have challenged me in any way. I never had a challenge. So I could get a nice education and then get into a cool job. And then I had a beautiful family and a lovely daughter. So everything went off very well. When I look back now at that stage, I remember this as complete, what should I say, a parade of confusion and missed opportunities. This this is what this is the phrase that I would attach with my youth childhood. There were so many things happening around me. Of course, we had conflicts in in my during my childhood in the family, but I could not understand what was happening. So it seemed, I mean, people were conflicted, but with me they were okay. I did not I was not the I did not bear the brunt of the conflicts, but still I was totally confused. I didn't know what was happening, but I managed to get along. I managed to come up without too much of problems, without much of challenges. So when you don't have any challenge, when life seems very smooth, so the best thing one could do is to create challenges for self. So I wanted to create a major challenge for myself. Today, probably I would call it midlife crisis. So around the age of 44, I walked out of my cool job, a great job that would pay me not only a salary every month, a nice salary every month, but also a pension till as long as I lived. It's a very cool job, but I just walked out of it. I felt that no, there are no excitement in my life. I need some more excitement. That I can do better myself. That this salary is too low, so I should start earning more. And this kind of, in those years when you are confused and when you are not knowing what you're doing, so you tend to do these things. Of course, I had some nice counsel, people telling me, please don't do this, please don't get out. Right from my wife to everyone told me, don't get out. But I decided that I am getting out. There was no looking back on it. So when I walked out, that phase after 44, that is 2004, that phase was one from 10 years between 2004 and 2014, the age of 44 and 54. That was the age where I really learned so many things. It was a very interesting period because everywhere I looked, I found conflict. I had never had conflict in my life till then. I mean, substantial conflict. I had had small conflicts. That was okay. And of course, I didn't know what was happening then. I was totally confused. So now, when conflicts reared its head up everywhere, all around me, and slowly, my confusion was clearing up because I had to clear up if I had to meet these challenges. I always thought that other people were opposing me, that I was not, I mean, they were ridiculing me. They were not, I mean, in any way supportive of me. Right from my wife, everyone seemed to be against me. They said, I told you so. I told you so that you won't succeed. Why did you come out? So that conflict and the way people looked at me, that I don't know. I was blaming them. I was thought that this is not the way you treat a person who is already down and out. That he is not able to come back after a big setback. So I used to wonder why. But slowly, I started realizing that everybody who with whom I interacted seemed to react the same way to me. They were sort of victimizing me or sort of cutting me off from opportunities, and this sort of things were happening. They were taking advantage of me, exploiting me. But then I started realizing that, is this something wrong with them or something wrong with me? Because so many people from diverse backgrounds were reacting the same way to me. So I thought, counterintuitively, I thought maybe something is wrong with me, not with them. So I started reading books. I started getting into spirituality. Everybody gets into spirituality once you cross 45, perhaps. So I started getting into spirituality and reading so many books. And of course, I have an inquisitive mind, and I used to read a lot of science also on the other side. So these things almost slowly convinced me that, yeah, there is something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with the people around me. Everybody were in a locked in a dance that was going on where I was the rhythm. So I was setting the rhythm and they were dancing. So I felt that if I change the rhythm, the dance will change. If I change myself, everything is going to change. So slowly, I started this process of changing myself. The first thing I attempted to change was that I stopped fighting. I stopped resisting. I said, yeah, that is right. Whatever is happening is the right thing that is happening. It is the best thing that is happening. Nothing else can happen. So slowly, the conflict first within my family started subsiding. So the challenges started subsiding. So I was not resisting, I was not fighting. So automatically, the fights started coming down. So when the fights started subsiding and I started looking around, I saw that I will not, I mean, in the traditional terms, I will never succeed because I had succeeded earlier with a good job and a cozy life and all that. That job or the life is not going to come back. So this is the next thing that I accepted, that what is with me is with me. So I concentrated next on my family and my child. Now my daughter is now well settled. So in terms of the conflicts in the family, it has almost come down to nothing. So we are cool. We are very comfortable with each other. So next I looked around, people around me. I could see that people viewed me as I don't know how should I say it. I don't know. People viewed me as probably headstrong, probably person who is not sensitive to their feelings or whatever. I don't know. But I thought I was a very sensitive person. That everybody's pain I could feel. So I heightened my own sensitivity. So I decided that I will not hurt anybody even if they hurt me. So this is how I started going slowly, allowing the agitation, allowing the challenges in my life to come down and to everything to come back to normal. Now again, I am back in the same track that I was much earlier, a track of no confusion, cool, smooth sailing. But the only difference now is then then I was missing opportunities and I didn't know what was happening. Now I'm much more clear on what is happening, and I can take up so many opportunities. I'll be able to. Writing this book itself was a huge opportunity. I struggled for it for 3 years. Now I was able to make. I am now able to make good some of the opportunities in my life. So this is how my life transformed from something that seemed to happen around me and something where I am able to contribute positively to it. So around 10 years back, I started forming an idea when I looked deeply into my how did these conflicts come down? How did people started loving me from not wanting to have anything to do with me? From that, how did this transformation come? What did I do? Did I change? I don't think I had changed. I've changed very little, except the lack of confusion and the more what I should say. The more awake I am. Other than that, I have not changed. I think even now I hurt people. I am because uh, what should I say? Involuntarily, without knowing, I hurt people, and I can see that I'm hurting them. Earlier, I was not able to see that. Now I can see where I am hurting people, how I am going wrong, what is happening. All these things I'm able to see. So around 10 years back, I started this journey of finding out how I can come to peace. So when when I started reading books, and around the age of 55, I started coming to reasonable peace, and my family life became very cool. So I thought I'd become a Buddha in my family. So when that happened, I was wondering what is happening with the world. The world, like you people were discussing earlier, the world seemed to be going to, I mean, towards its destruction. So I knew that I was not much concerned about this. If the world goes towards destruction, to my book, and I know that challenges are the things that are the opportunities. The bigger the challenge you have, the bigger the opportunity you have. There's nothing to fear about it. So I knew I could step out of this myself. Now, next thing is I wanted to save my family. So if something bad is going to happen, something, I mean, global warming and maybe probably floods, probably a lot of destruction, then I need to save my family. So how do I save my family? See, I am a person who does not teach anybody anything. I don't preach. I don't like to preach. So I think that the best way to save my family is to save myself. So to save myself, the behaviors I indulge in, the way I talk, the way I move with people, this I thought would be mirrored by my family. And so when I become a Buddha, of course, everyone in my family will become a Buddha. But there was a disconnect. This did not happen. My family, they were normal. They were ordinary people. They were okay. I knew if I was anxious that if something comes, if something bad happens, they may not come through like me. I may be able to come through, but they may not be able to come through. This was the fear that I wanted to, that started eating in me. So I thought, how do I save them? I have to save them. So I thought, if I have to save them, I have to save my society, my community. If I have to save my community, I have to save my country. If I have to save my country, I have to save the entire humanity. So I thought, if I am going to save anyone, my family member, if I'm going to save any single person in this earth, I have to save everyone. That is the only way. There is no other way this can be done. So out of the anxiety of within me of trying to save my family members, I wrote this book that would probably that would contribute for the entire humanity to save themselves. This is how the book came about. The title of this book is Searching for Self in Pursuit of Inner Peace. I knew that I had come to inner peace, so others will be able to come to inner peace. So if more and more people come to inner peace, automatically the whole world will come to inner peace. This is how everything came about, and this is how I am here, where I am from where I was. So this is about me, and I would like to talk a little bit about my book also. So how do I save people? How do I save so many people? And how do I save my family? How do I? So the book talks about some very simple ideas. The ideas are that we are in our comfort zone. Comfort zone is a place. I describe our comfort zone as a comfortable couch, climate control, and favorite food, and friendly folks. This is what I term comfort zone as. Comfort zone is actually what I in the book what I say is that it's something we download as a package, a complete package. I had downloaded the entire package from my family where our family went for generations without any conflict, and of course it will go for generations without any conflicts. So I downloaded the package which tells us that where I should not go, what I should not do, so that I will keep myself safe. There won't be any challenges. There won't be any problems. So I'll keep myself safe. This package is what is a comfort zone. When I would like to make a statement, a very cheeky statement that all of us are living in the comfort zone today. How do I know? How do I know that all of us are living in the comfort zone? When we are inside our comfort zone, we destroy. We destroy our relationships, we destroy our environment. Within my comfort zone, I was destroying everything around me. I could clearly see that how much destruction I caused to the people, the relationships around me. In fact, if societal norms had not been strong within our community, inside in India, we have much more more attachments. We are much more closer together. If that had not been there, I would have ended up as a loner, as alone. I would have divorced my wife. Probably I would have been, I would have left, had many relationships and gone in to come out and finally ended up with nothing. So this is how when we operate from our comfort zone, this is how uh, we create destruction. And of course, we are destroying the environment. We know the species diversity is coming down in an unprecedented manner, and of course, the global warming, everything is happening. So we know that we are in the comfort zone. So how do we sort this problem? This is the problem. The book says that individually only we can solve the problem. The problem cannot be solved by governments. The problem cannot be solved by the scientists. Of course, they can all help. They can really help. The governments can help, the leaders can help, the scientists can help, but the start should come from the individual. The start came from me in my life, and I know everyone can start like that. Every individual can start. And the book talks about walking out of your comfort zone into your resilience zone. The resilience zone, I was terribly surprised when I read Abraham's profile on the website, on the One Day is Today website. So it says that face challenges, face, chaos in the face, face chaos in the face, in my face, some of that sort. So this exactly describes what the resilience zone is. We are ready to get out of our comfort and face the chaos right in the face without any hesitation. The book talks about the comfort, resilience zone, and the idea that I propose is if all of us step out of our comfort zone into our resilience zone, the destruction will stop. We will, the destruction will automatically stop. There will not be any. First, we will not be alone. We will not feel lonely. Our loneliness will go away. Next, we will stop destroying the environment. So, what we are doing without knowing, unaware, sitting inside our comfort zone, once we come into a resilience zone, become aware, we will completely, we will completely stop doing that. So, this is about my book and this is about myself. Um, I think I have come to the end of the presentation. So I'd like to take the questions if there are any.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Hari, for sharing your story. It's remarkable. It's inspiring. I mean, I can relate to so much that you were sharing about growing up without much conflict, and living in that state of comfort as you were describing. And one question that came to mind is when did you discover your own power? Like when did you see that it was an option to choose to instead of having life happen to you and being the victim to you happening to life, like that you saw the power that you had, that you could write a book? Where did that come from?
See, after I walked out of my very cushy job and I started seeing people, the real world I started seeing, and I found that people were reacting the same way to me. That I was feeling that I was being victimized, but everyone seemed to be acting in a what I should say in an assembly line manner. Everybody seems to be different people, but acting in the same way to me. This is what gave me an inkling that the problem is with me, not with them. Once I decided that the problem is with me, not with them, then I could take control of my life. I could contribute something positive to my life to change my life. This happened about, I should say, about 10 years back when the idea of this book also originated. And I started reading so many authors and so many books everywhere. And I started observing how I could control the conflict. The controlling the conflict was very interesting because when I controlled myself, the conflict could control. My actions were the ones that were creating the conflict. This took me quite a lot of time to understand that how this thing can be controlled. So many things happening, so much of conflicts coming in, but everything seemed to be like standard, very standard model of conflicts. There were no different models of conflicts. So that told me that I was the only one who was common in all the conflicts. because I was common in on the conflicts, and all the conflicts were standard. And I thought the problem should originate here, inside me, not there. So that is when I could, like you say, I could start contributing to my life, take control of my life.
Yeah, that's a huge realization. And it for me, that takes me back to the difference between reacting to life and reacting to people versus responding as life. Um, the recognition that it was the way you were reacting to everyone around you that was creating the conflict, and you just change that, and you start responding as life, as love, as awareness, as whatever word you want to use. It doesn't matter. That is something that I would love to see spread. And it's something like, and the funny thing is, like, it's not something that I can teach as far as I'm aware. Like, I've never been able to teach it. I've never been able, like, I've tried, it doesn't work. The only thing is to be it. And then if other people see that example, then that seems to be something that they can latch onto and recognize for themselves as well. So in that vein, in that subject, there was something you said pretty early on when you were talking that I wonder if you would unpack a little bit more. The comfort zone versus the resilience zone, because those two, like what we were just talking about, seem very much related to the comfort zone. Like, being in the comfort zone is reacting, being in the resilience zone is responding, basically, is the way I see it. I just, would you unpack that a little bit more and just share, like, maybe some examples of how you caught yourself reacting in the comfort zone that was creating conflict?
Okay. See, when conflicts were created, if I was not aware what I was doing, how I contributed to the conflict, when my eyes were totally on the other person, seeing that what he was saying or what she was saying, how she was acting, that was creating conflict. When my eyes were there, I was inside my comfort zone. When I could take my eyes out of the other person's behavior, and I could focus consistently on myself, how did I light the fire? How did I mean, pour fuel into the fire? If that I was very clear about, then I could see that I was out of my comfort zone. I was in the resilience zone because I could stop, like you said, reacting. I could stop reacting. In fact, I could stop acting at all. When I stopped acting completely, in fact, I didn't respond. I stopped acting. In domestic conflicts, I would not talk. And of course, my wife had one of the biggest grouses that this fellow shuts up totally. He never talks. When you don't talk, other people simply cannot. I mean, keep on talking. How long can they keep talking? And after some time, they have to stop. And of course, I would never say yes or no. I would just again keep quiet. This is the way. By stopping acting at all, I saw that the conflict could come down. Of course, the conflict did not resolve unless I respond and I really contribute positively to the situation. The conflict did not stop. The less I acted, the more conflict came all around me. But the conflicts would not hurt me because I did not aggravate them by saying words or doing things. I did not aggravate them. Conflicts were there, but the conflict did not flare up. So then I thought, okay, once you stop acting, then you don't worsen the situation. So how do I improve the situation? And then came the next of stepping out of the comfort zone, finding out where the other person is coming from, and then assuring them, finding out their fears. I was looking at my fear, and I could understand. I could completely accept my fear, but I had to first understand the other person's fear. What was that fear that was making them come into conflict with me, and then assure them that that is not the case. That I'm willing to address their fears. When that happened, I was in the resilience zone.
Wow. Yeah. That's powerful. One thing that comes to mind is in my own personal journey of exploring for myself, or discovering inner peace, my own inner peace, my own peace of mind, was discovering that peace is not the same thing as avoiding conflict. I a lot of my life I had the idea it's like if there's conflict coming, I run the other way, and it's like I love peace, but at the same time, if there's conflict, I sprint the other direction, and that's kind of very much has to do with what you're saying about the comfort zone. It's like I was comfortable avoiding conflict because conflict meant discomfort. So I would be afraid to speak my mind. I would be afraid to say what I really felt because I'm basically avoiding the conflict. So I'm staying comfortable. Have you ever had experiences like that with avoiding conflict?
See, my habit of not acting at all, coming completely to a stop, was exactly avoiding conflict.
Mm-hmm.
My way of dealing with conflict was to avoid it by not aggravating it, by keeping quiet, by running away, hiding under my bed or whatever,
Right.
keeping out of the situation. That is what I was doing. When I understood that that does not resolve the conflict,
Right.
no. See, we have already created the problem earlier. Before the conflict, we start the reason for the conflict has already been created by my behavior or talk or whatever. I've done something that has created the conflict. So after creating the conflict and things are going worse, I stop acting. When I stop acting, I'm running away from it. I have set fire to the house and I'm now running away from it. That doesn't save anything. That doesn't save me. So unless I can positively contribute, that is where I am in the resilience zone and I am responding. So I find out what I have done wrong, how I have hurt the other person, what the other person is frightened of, how I can reassure them that this is not going to happen, that I don't have malicious intentions. How I can do that? That means I have to be active. So unless I'm active, I'm running away from the situation. If I don't act, I'm running away from the situation. I started that way only. First, I didn't know what was happening, and so I was aggravating the situation. Then I became first active. Then I became passive. I started avoiding. I started not acting. Then I became responsive.
Yeah, that's no, I absolutely can relate. Most of my life I would avoid conflict, mistaking it as the same thing as peace. And with little did I know that I was sweeping it under the rug, creating more conflict, even if it was external, even if it wasn't my own conflict, it became my own I let the external conflict become my own internal conflict. And and in my experience of when I've had my own deepest peace in myself, it's been in the face of external conflict. It's been while there's conflict, I'm surrounded by conflict. I've discovered when I keep my peace, internal peace, and actually bring that to an external situation, that's the most power that I've ever had. It's like in the face of a deep conflict, when I can actually keep my peace, there's so much power and freedom in that because there's no outside circumstance. Nothing could happen in the physical world that could take away my centered peace. And it's almost like something that until I experienced that peace, it seemed like something that was impossible.
Right. No, actually, what happens is, see, the conflicts, challenges, catastrophes, or the pandemic, or whatever, they are coming. I understood the basic reason why they happen. They are coming to drive us out of our comfort zone, to destroy our comfort zone. Because within our comfort zone, we are destroying everything. We are involved in huge destruction when we are inside the comfort zone. So to destroy this comfort zone is what these things are being sent to us. So instead of that, we start looking for vaccines. We start looking for when will the normal be? When can I go to that restaurant? So this thing is again we are running back into the comfort zone, and we're trying to go back into the comfort zone. You cannot go back into the comfort zone, because if you go back into the comfort zone, the old destruction is going to restart. The pandemic, a few months we have had the pandemic, I think the environmental destruction has come down. But again, we want to become normal and start destroying again. The reason why these things happen to us is simply to destroy the comfort zone. If we can accept that we are going to renounce the comfort zone, we are going to live with reality, we are going to respond, and we are going to be very responsible, then of course, whatever comes, whether it is conflict, whether it is catastrophe, whatever comes, we are able to face it with responsibility.
Yeah, the observation that all conflict exists to push us out of the comfort zone. Like I really appreciate that. And I'm trying, like, I'm blanking on how you phrased it when you were sharing earlier. It was on the tip of my tongue and now it's gone. So I'm just going to let it go. And if it comes back around, it comes back around. But what's present now is we can see, like, I can see that internally in my own journey and see that mirrored in the world as well. Mm-hmm. Like it's my own personal experience with conflict and fear and the comfort zone and, you know, stepping into the resilient zone, as you put it, that has given me the perspective to look at the world and not be afraid, because I see the journey I went through being mirrored in humanity right now. Mm-hmm. And, you know, whatever the outcome is, whatever happens, I have learned to trust that it's going to work out in my own life, because it always does. And no matter how crazy my world has gotten, no matter how crappy or wild of a situation I found myself in, as long as I trust and just keep responding instead of reacting, everything works out. Right. And like, so that perspective, like, I can look at the world and go, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know what we're going to learn. I don't know what's going to happen. But like, it's the same thing. Like, it's just happening on a much grander scale.
Mm-hmm. Right. Running to the comfort zone, running, or for me, avoiding the conflict, represents, you know, the fear of failure, the fear of I might fail, I might not succeed. But it's like, it's the fear, like, if all things go wrong, then I'm going to be, no one's, you know, I'm not going to be enough. People are going to see that I'm not. I mean, it's like, we're afraid to be vulnerable. We're afraid to fail. And like, and it's like, that's what paralyzes us and makes us cling to our comforts. You know, it makes us cling to, you know, just like what you were saying, Hadi, about like the pandemic. We run back to normal, whatever that even means, you know. But like, normal is a destructive pattern that we've normalized, and you know, we don't recognize it because we don't see the symptom. We see the symptoms, but we don't see the cause of how who we are today, who we choose to be today, actually impacts everything and every, like, especially ourselves, but it impacts the entire world. Like, I've said this before, every handshake or fist we extend, every smile, smirk, or frown, every word we make, kept or broken, impacts and affects the trajectory of the entire universe. We are so powerful. And when we pretend that we're not, that our inaction or our avoiding conflict doesn't have an impact, when we pretend that just accepting or avoiding conflict will just make it disappear, is an inauthenticity that we all have at some point. I wanted to share, Hadi mentioned something that he read on our website. This is a poem that I wrote about a year ago. I'm going to share it with you all. Today is the day, instead of playing it safe, I can choose to enter into that space, to be willing to face the chaos in front of my face. God is giving me grace. All the pain and disgrace goes away. And I can't help but embrace the possibility and fill in that page to create a reality I never knew could take place. and it's it's facing the chaos, and it's something that I never, from the other side of it, from somebody who's lived in chaos most of my life of my own making, it seems so counterintuitive that to get over the chaos, to create order in the chaos, is to actually look at it in the face and actually say, I take my power back. It's not succumbing to the chaos. It's not ignoring the chaos. It is looking it dead in the eyes and say, I see you, and I still choose to act. I still choose to be. I still choose to love. I still choose, even if my feelings and my thoughts tell me to panic and run. That's a reaction. It's not who I say I am. It's not the possibility that I stand in and my commitment for peace and transformation. Hardy, go ahead.
Yeah. If you look at this, the fear is actually the gatekeeper of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
The moment we try to slightly come out of our comfort zone, we feel that fear which makes us go back. No, this is not the place for you, please go back. So that kind of, this is actually that. So I missed the point that I wanted to say. Okay.
So fear, you're saying fear is the gatekeeper for our comfort.
Comfort.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate. When I live in the state of my comfort, like just even to this day, there are responsibilities. There's things that I say I'll do. There are things that are important that I say are important to me. I'll put it on my schedule, and then it comes up, and I'm like, I'll be afraid to take action because because I get in my head about it. I'll say like, oh, this isn't perfect, or this isn't as good as it can be. This isn't I will hold myself to a standard, but in essence, I will avoid action because I'm afraid of a result. I have attachment to a specific result. Like a song I'll be writing. I'll be working on a song, and I'll be afraid to finish it because I'll be afraid that it's not as good as it could be. I'll critique it and judge it. Bring my ego will sneak in. I'll be writing a song, and my ego will sneak in the room, and without me even noticing it, and I'll be critiquing and judging myself and my song and being the harshest critic. All the while living in fear and not even realizing it, and paralyzed by it, not taking action, not feeling peace in my own heart. And it's something to this day that still sneaks up in my being, in my day to day. We still run to comfort even when I schedule to do the opposite.
Actually, now I'm back. Actually, fear, when we feel fear, panic, or whatever emotions that are really disturbing us, when we look deeper, we see that there is a perspective behind that. When I'm afraid, I feel that I'm coming from a weakness perspective. The identity that powers this perspective. Every perspective has an identity behind that. So if I can look at that identity, who I think I am, who is this person who is frightened? If I can find that identity and then step out of that identity, my fear or panic go away immediately. This happens actually. I've seen this happen. I would like to share a very nice example of how it happened in my life. So I go jogging regularly in the morning on the roads in my hometown here. So when I jog, sometimes what happens is there usually all the dogs there now are known to me. They're very friendly. We have a lot of street dogs here, so they are quite known to me and friendly and all that. But sometimes we find a dog that has just given birth to puppies, or a dog that has come from another area. So it begins to chase me. It starts barking and begins to chase me. So the moment usually it happens that it comes from front and comes towards me. So when it comes towards me, I can feel the fear that this is going to come and bite me. So, and it is also barking very loudly. That gives me really a panic. When this panic I feel, And when I can step out of the panic, then I don't turn around and run away, nor do I try to attack the dog. I'm standing there cool and calm. And I always found that the dog that has come with the most dangerous bark never goes beyond, I mean, comes a little bit and comes to stop immediately. When I stop and when I look at it straight, eye to eye, it stops and then it turns back. This is an experiment that was done by me at a great personal risk. I knew that if it didn't stop and it bites me, the matter had it. But it has worked. Several times it has worked because running on the road with street dogs is a dangerous affair. I know that a lot of people walking on the roads have got bitten. So running on the roads, no need to say anything about it. Almost the chance. I've been now running for more than 20 years, and by God's grace, I never got bitten. But one of the reasons why never got bitten is that I was never frightened. I never ran away. So when we face our fear and when we detach from that panicked person, I'm not that panic person. Can I look at that person having this panic? When I do that, I see that I have stepped away and the panic can exist probably and it subsides by itself and the thing does not flare up. Bad things don't happen. So this is one thing. The perspective, the identity, if we can realize and step out, we are there.
Yeah, that actually brings up a really beautiful point. When we recognize that identity, that construct of the scared person, and we let it go, there's something else there. And that something else is like, I experience it as me, but also bigger than me. Like it's like, I talk about it as, that's life living through me, or that's love directing my actions, or even that's God speaking through me. But it's like, it's that bigger thing that inspires those moments of just standing and staring at the dog. Like, it's not me that's doing it. I don't exist.
I can't do it.
Yeah. And I never know how that's going to play out. Like, sometimes I just stand and stare. Sometimes I will, like, my hand will come down. Sometimes I'll take a step back or kneel. Like every time is different. But it's letting that response happen that changes everything in my experience. And I wonder, like, you're shaking your head, like, yeah, like that resonates. But like, is that how you would describe it in your words? Like, what is that experience to you of that thing that is bigger than, like?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Like, what? Like, you're nodding, like you share that experience, but I wonder if you could put that experience in your own words.
Exactly. Because what you say about getting out of the identity, allowing the universe to do the job, becoming much bigger than what I think I am. That is what has actually has brought me here. Whenever I have any problems, I know once I detach from that identity, then I know the universe takes over, or you can say God or whatever, they take over. Then the thing goes as it should go. I have nothing much to do with it. So if I don't interfere, if I don't make things worse for myself, things become better. That's what I have seen. That's what I have felt.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's like the question that that invites this very experience is like, what if who I am, my true authentic self, is greater than I think. Like, maybe who I truly am is greater than I could have ever imagined. And it's like just the consideration of that. It's like, because the idea, like, because for me, most of my life I've lived in my head about the way it could be, it should be, it might be, or will or won't be. But it was always the idea, the thought process that, or I believed a thought in my head was my reality. And, I wouldn't even, in that state of mind, I couldn't even consider who I am underneath all these thoughts, underneath all these emotions, is way greater and bigger than I could have ever imagined, because I identified with my identity that was in my thoughts. Just where I was who I saw myself as, or who I thought other people saw me as, was the projection of what my thoughts were. And for me, that was a very hectic way of living, because thoughts are sporadic. Thoughts are crazy. They're inconsistent, and they're judging, they're critiquing. But until I experienced that who I am is not only not my thoughts, but is way greater than my thoughts could ever even perceive, it's what opened the door for me to actually step outside. Even when I still have thoughts, I don't have to be burdened or overcome by these thoughts that in the past were overbearing. Really.
When we are identified, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
When we are identified with the mind, we take full ownership of our thoughts. So when some thought is put in our mind, we immediately think, I am thinking that. I accept the thought and I embrace the thought. But once I step out of that identity, I can see the thoughts coming in and say that no, I don't accept that thought. Even if the thought is about something, committing a crime, I can think about committing a crime. But as long as I know that I am not responsible, I am not thinking that thought, and negate the thought and stop there. I don't act on it. Nothing happens. So, and
Absolutely.
this idea of being bigger than what I think I am. This idea will only be an idea unless we can actually realize it.
Mhm.
And this realization happens when the challenges are really big in our life. If there is no challenge, we can never know how big we are. That is the thing that I have realized now.
Yeah.
Unless there is a huge challenge, unless there is something very big happens, this comfort zone is going to be there, and I'm going to be like this only. I'm not going to change much. Because whatever idea I can have, that I'm bigger, I'm this, that, those ideas don't work.
Yeah. That's so powerful, and I totally can relate with that. And it's like back to the comfort argument, and it's for me, it's the same as the yin and the yang. It's the dance of chaos and order. If we're always living on one side of that, if everything is in order, that's the same thing as hell. There's no challenge, there's no growth, there's no risk, there's no opportunity. Chaos is such an essential dance in our own experience. And if we just live in our comforts, just have order in everything in our lives, there's no hiccups, no unexpected things happening, there's nothing to be gained, there's nothing to experience, because we see the world as the bubble that we think is us, and it's like, I would go as far as saying, as humans in our experience, we're born in a bubble, and our bubble is kind of our identity, and we think that our bubble is the whole world, is the entire existence. And I would go as far as saying is not until our bubble pops can we really experience ourselves, because the world is so much bigger. We are so much bigger than our thoughts about what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, real quick, Hari, I'd like to bring that back to what you said about how it was downloaded from your family.
Sorry?
Like that's essentially exactly what happens. Like we're born into these bodies that are already existing in a story. And that story, like, we literally download it as we grow up. And I've talked about this on the show before, and it's been talked about in Landmark. Like in Landmark, they talk about it as always already listening. Like that, it's the context into which we are born that becomes our identity, like what we think we are. And I just wanted to say, like, I really love that way you phrased that. It was beautiful to me. Like you just downloaded it, because that's. I couldn't. I've never heard it said better. I just thank you for that.
Hari, it's such an honor to have you with us today. It's been such a pleasure you sharing your story and your wisdom. It's been such a wonderful conversation. I'd love for you to come back and share some more with us in the near future. I'd love to have you back.
Me too. And I'm highly honored. The honor is entirely mine.
Oh, fantastic. It's been such a wonderful conversation, and I just really appreciate who you're being. I'm really excited to read your book and just hear more of your insights and just through your experience. This is how I grow. This is how we all grow. As we hear the experience of the people who have been through the experiences, and it's like, and this is what one day is. Is we all lift our own transformative experiences that we all can grow together because we all see ourselves in each other and allow each other the same to see. If I can see you, myself, in you, and you can see yourself in me, what a
Exactly.
beautiful world we can create when we actually recognize that and actually act in that. And that's why we're here. So thank you, Hari. I really appreciate it. I'm such grateful, and I'm honored that you joined us today.
Yes, thank you.
I'm grateful too.
Oh, I really appreciate it, Howdy. Thank you for sharing. And to all of our listeners and watchers, this is an opportunity I want to share with you. Share your story with us. This stage is for you. It's for you to share your gift, your genius. This is a space for you to share yourself vulnerably, authentically. What have you experienced? What have you overcome? Where have you stepped out of your comfort zone? What fears and what chaos have you faced in your life that led you to an experience of yourself that was bigger than you ever imagined? That's what we want to hold this space. We want you to share who you are. And that's part of our one day mission, which is bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. And this is part of what our one day vision is. And our vision is that humanity is rising in a connected world with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. What diseases could we cure together? What new art and musical masterpieces could we create? What spiritual collaborations could we have? What new food could we concoct? This is what one day is about. What's possible when we recognize ourselves and each other as human and as possibility and really stand in and recognize the divine expression of the universe within us all. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you on Thursday. We have some more guests I'm excited about. I love you. Be safe, be well, and as always, one day is today. Take care, everybody.